I'm going to talk today about things people told me and why they were wrong. That's me when I was little. Oh, I know, I was so adorable. I'm so cute. I'm so innocent. I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and I had the idea that this is what it meant to be a girl, right? This is how the right way to be a girl. These princesses showed like, oh, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I trust you. I trust you, a man. Like, look at all the body language. It's so, they don't really know what to do except for, I'm going to sing and I don't know what else to do. I can do it. My prince. That's enough of that. But this was my idea of what it meant to be a princess and by extension to be a girl. I'm going to give you just a quick story about that. One time when I have 4 kids, when my 3-year-old asked me, hey, Mama, do you want to see me turn into a princess? I was like, yeah, I do. And because of my bias from these shows, I thought she might go, la, 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 or something like that. But this is what she did. It was like the Hulk. And I was like so alarmed, but then really happy because I realized what she thought of it. She didn't know what a princess was. She didn't know what it meant to like inherit a title over the monarchy. That didn't mean anything to her. Her idea of a princess was a girl in her full power. And I have taken that, yes, that definition ever since. I have written about more princesses probably than anybody you have ever met. And every single one, I seek to be different from each other. Because when you limit what a princess can do, you're limiting also what a girl can do. So that has been my mission. But what is yours? What ideas are you here to disrupt? What ideologies pinch you too tight? What do you have to say? That's what you get to decide for yourself. We now live in a world with a lot different kinds of princesses. There's a lot of different examples of different ways to be a princess. You guys are in a very different world than the tiny one in. And that has challenges as well as the good parts to it. So some things people told me, creative writing is not a realistic pursuit. You can never make a living. I heard that a lot. So I grew up with a fanciful imagination. I know you're gonna keep eyeing until I get to middle school. And then it will stop and we'll all get very uncomfortable. So this is me in kindergarten. This was the first story I ever wrote. It was about a witch with long green fingernails who ate babies. So my first story was a horror. I don't know where it came from, but my mom had recently had a new baby. So, and by the time I was in 4th grade, you're fine, I appreciate that. This was when I first declared I wanted to be a writer, all the imagination, daydreaming. I finally realized, could I put it down into story form? But as I got older, okay, thank you, you got my back. By the time I'm this age, though, when I would say I want to be a writer, I would get the, it's pretty hard. Yeah, you probably try something a little bit easier. So I started to write in secret. Are you going to offer for my 10th grade picture? There was some, in there. I kept writing, but I didn't tell anybody. I was ashamed. Has anybody ever felt that about writing? It's like, yeah, everybody wants to be a writer. Oh, that's so unoriginal, or you're not going to really be able to do it. I really took that to heart. And I kept in secret, you're not going to offer my college. This has gotten out of hand. Eventually, when I decided to get an MFA in creative writing, it was because I couldn't stay in that writer closet anymore, and I just had to, even though I was going to be embarrassed and people were going to judge me, I just had to do it. And you don't have to get an MFA in creative writing in order to be a writer. That is absolutely not necessary. But for me, it was a way to kind of claim that and take it seriously. But even if I hadn't grown up to make a living from writing, I think there's something to be said for writing for the sake of writing and art for the sake of art. If you love to do it, if it helps you figure yourself out and figure out the world, if it fills your soul, you don't have to earn money in order to make that valid. You are valid just in yourself. You don't have to earn your worth as a writer or as a human being. Just do it. Another thing people told me is readers won't like your book. novel got so many rejections. I won't go through them all, but said that the writing was stiff, cliched, and self-conscious. Oh my goodness. Those words stayed with me forever. And that book was The Goose Girl. I know. So all those people who rejected it, who said it wasn't good enough, were they right? Yes! What? Well, here's the thing. They were wrong to say that nobody would like it, because obviously people did. But they were right in that it wasn't right for them. And really, there's so much rejection in this business. I've been publishing for 22 years now, and the rejections don't stop. But hopefully, I started to learn for myself anyway, that rejection is one way to kind of like the universe moving you into where you fit, where you need to be. My voice and my style wasn't right for those editors. I don't want to work with editors who don't really like my writing. I wanted to wait. It's painful. Rejection is painful, but I wanted to wait till I found the people who got what I was trying to do. You guys are just the best. All right, other things people told me, maybe just let this one go. Not all books can be saved. I was really struggling with a book. I got this advice a lot, and I almost gave it up, and that book was Princess Academy. And this taught me, everybody's different, but this taught me don't give up on a book, because as soon as I give up on a book, I'll give up on all my books, like if I gave myself that permission. So there are a few that I've gone bored with, but for the most part, I don't give up on a book, and I keep rewriting. Well, not a single sentence is the same, but what I loved about it is finally coming through. Some people said boys won't read or like a book called Princess Academy. Well, they were incorrect about that. Boys liked it while they were weightlifting at the pool with their pals, riding the bike around the neighborhood with a mustache, up a tree, with power tools, climbing rocks, in the bat cave. Boys love Princess Academy. But here's something I have found. With adults, writing groups with adults, I've asked them, shamelessly, I've asked the men, raise your hand if you can name 5 female authors that you've read at least 2 books by them. And they can't do it. And I ask the women, can you name 20 male authors that you've read at least 5 books by them? And all of them could say yes. So often what we do is we decide who's okay for us to read and who's not. And I'm telling you, if you want to really be a great writer, for everybody, I just say read what you love. But for writers, you got to read widely. You have to read outside your comfort zone. I mean, if you don't like the book, you don't have to finish it. But what I mean by comfort zone is the author and the main character represent you. Reading other races, reading other sexualities and genders, reading people from different parts of the world than you, all of different religions, all of these things are helping you experience lives that you don't get to live, and it's going to make you a more well-rounded writer. Something else people told me, success is a skill. It's something you learn. I have no idea what that means. Not all advice is helpful. Something else, graphic novels are impossible to sell. So in 2004, I was meeting so many readers, and graphic novels were a new thing. I had to explain what graphic novels were. They told me that that's just not going to happen for young readers. And I wasn't the only one, but a bunch of us were like, we got to get graphic novels. There's so many visual learners, so many people who need this. And our first book turned into Rapunzel's Revenge. It was one of the very first graphic novels published by children's publishers, did with my husband and also Nathan Hale, no relation. I've now done 8 graphic novels. I've got 8 more in the works. I'm passionate about graphic novels. Who would like to write or illustrate or both graphic novels? Yay! Oh, so many of you. It's a great form of storytelling. I love it. Another thing people told me, work hard with no distractions if you want to get ahead. Well, I've had so many distractions. They just kept coming. Sometimes in 2s. And sometimes my lap looked like this while I was writing, and sometimes it looked like this. And I kept going because all the distractions weren't small. This is the author photo I used for years. You know how long it took me to see that? Yeah, my husband photoshopped himself back there. He is that creepy in real life as well. And me, again, me with Lay-Win Fam, and there he is, yeah. You can see him now. But I always tell my kids, all stories are about relationships. That's when if something's not going great with your story, you look at your relationships. Like, draw yourself a chart. Put your main character, if you've got a main character or multiple, whatever, in the center, and then write all the supporting characters. Draw lines between all of them and decide, do I really understand what the relationship is like between these two characters? After you do that, draw lines between all the supporting characters and each other and understand what those relationships are like. And if you haven't fully fleshed it out, if you look at it and you go like, oh, I don't really know, that might be why your story's kind of stuck. You don't really understand people, and you don't really care about characters as much until you understand their relationships. And it's true of life as well. It's really what matters. Other writers are your competition. This is the saddest idea. Can you imagine this? I'm asking Marissa. If we really thought that, you know how boring StoryCon's amazing, but a lot of festivals and stuff we do would be so boring because it's all about, we're like, family reunion. We get to see everybody. We get to hang out with our buddies here at StoryCon. I love other authors, and if you view them as competition, then you prevent yourself from making like the real relationships and friendships that make life so beautiful. A movie, it'll never happen. Well, guess what? It did happen. So I got to be on set for the 7 weeks in England when we filmed Austenland. I was being very quiet and shy, not talking to anybody, and then Jane Seymour was like, this was one of the first days. She was like, oh, the lighting is perfect. Everybody come out. Let's get a picture with Shannon. I was like, she's the nicest person in the world. And then James Callis on the end said, let's all jump in the air and say Austenland. And so we did. And you younger ones don't know Jane Austen, but I've got not Jane Austen. I did not mean to insult you by saying you don't know Jane Austen. I meant to say Jane Seymour. And now you guys are like, okay, yeah. Dr. Quinn, medicine women, my Gen X pals, we understand. Anyway, she became my pal on set. That's her, Jane Seymour. She's the one on the left, because on your right, I get people, obviously mistake me for Jane Seymour all the time. So I got to have a little cameo on the ball scene, and when she saw me in my outfit, she was like, oh, let me get a picture of you. And so she took this. She's like, something's missing. We need a man. And just then, Ricky Whittle came up. He's one of the actors, and if you Google him, you have a hard time finding a picture of him with his shirt on, because, he has a very serious skin condition where he puts on a shirt, but it just melts off afterward. So here he is, and, yeah. So, I'm being like, I'm being silly, because, that was what I would do. But this is what happened when Jane Seymour starts to direct your photo shoot. I'm married with 4 children at this point. It just kept going, though. It just kept going, and then, yeah. And I sent this, a couple of my kids were home, a couple of them with me, but I sent this home to my preschooler and her dad, and she saw it, and apparently she was really confused about what I was doing in England, because she told her preschool teacher she saw a photo with her mama in a wedding dress with another man in England. And I'm here to tell you, actually, that indie movies do not make the writer very much money, but we still were able to squirrel away a little money to pay for her future therapy expenses. So it all worked out. Everybody wants to write Squirrel Girl. They'll never let you write Squirrel Girl. I thought I took the slide out. This goes out to my buddy James over there, the amazing tech guy. Give him a cheer, James. He's a fan of Squirrel Girl. Well, Squirrel Girl, of course, is a Marvel hero. My husband and I got to write a couple, the very first novels about her, and she's got all the powers of squirrel, she's got all the powers of girl, and she's known as the unbeatable Squirrel Girl. She's the only Marvel character who has defeated Dr. Doom, Thanos, thank you, and Galactus, Devourer of Worlds. This is true, this is canon. I told this in elementary school one time, and there was like a 4th grader who said, that's not true, that can't be true of Squirrel Girl, and I went, it's canon, bro! It's canon! Come at me to this 4th grader, and I was like, what am I doing? I'm too excited about Squirrel Girl. But when my husband and I write it, we really like to get into the character as Squirrel Girl and her friend Tippy Toe. So he's a good sport. Other thing people told me, there's no market for books like this. That book was this one. I met some readers in the hallway earlier. It was like, we just wanted to tell you that this is legit our childhood, is The Princess in Black. So, Princess in Black, I had to fight hard for this book. So it was rejected by so many people, but it's about Princess Magnolia, who likes to wear her fluffy pink dresses and glass slippers, but she also likes to put on black and fight monsters. And it's written in a style, it's an early chapter book with very few words and a lot of illustrations, and so many publishers did not see that it could actually make money and sell. There wasn't a market for it, and we really had to fight for it. Happily, we had enough clout at that point to make it happen, because I've heard so many people tell me this is where they first learned to read and to love reading, which is like the best thing you can hear at all. So, yeah, I'm like so lucky I got to be a part of it. So these are my 4 kids when they're younger, obviously. But this skirt right here is the origin of The Princess in Black. So this little girl, her name is Magnolia. And I know, you guys, I'm bringing the cute today, right? I am here for your cute needs. So she wears this little butterfly skirt. And one day, she was the same one that went, rah! Remember, it turned into a princess? Well, this was like a year after that. She was pointing to different colors on her butterfly skirt. And she said, Mama, pink is a girl color, and purple is a girl color, and yellow is a girl color, but not black. And I was like, what? I was like, of course girls can wear black. I wear black. They're like, yeah, because I'm a mom. I'm not really a girl. But I was like, Batgirl wears black. And I'm like, clearly that was the argument that would seal the deal. But she said, but Mama, princesses don't wear black. And I had never noticed before that in our media, I've never seen a princess in black. And again, if you limit what a princess can do, you're limiting what a girl sees herself as being able to do. So I was like, we gotta change that. So we created The Princess in Black, and just like our Maggie, she doesn't have to choose. Sometimes Maggie felt like being a princess and having a tea party. Sometimes she felt like putting on I think that's a Bumblebee Transformers mask, along with her knight in shining armor wear and her sword. She can do both, just like all frickin' you. All y'all. We all can. Absolutely. I'm going to take you a little bit through a process of writing this book to show you kind of how we do it. So Prince in Pink, this was book 10. This began, the idea came from kids, because wherever I went all over the country, when I said Princess in Black, I would get at least a kid in the audience who would tell me that Squirrel Girl was not capable of feeding Thanos by herself. But besides that, they would tell me, is there going to be a prince in pink? Because they got the joke, right? They got that we don't usually see a princess in black, and we don't usually see a prince in pink. So we're like, yes, we will write that for you. So we actually spent years kind of thinking about it. Eventually, we came up with an idea. We started to outline it. Many people don't like outlines, and I hear you. I've actually made friends with outlines. It saves me more time in the long run. I can rewrite less later if I can outline more up front. Do you outline, or? Yeah, Marissa does. And then we go from there to breaking down the outline into chapters. And then, because I co-write with my husband, we'll split up the chapters for the first draft. And I'm like, I don't want him to write any of the chapters because I want to write them all. So it's like a great deal. It's a very much charity on my part to let someone else write Princess in Black with me, because I love it so much. And then after that, we write a draft. And these are only 2,500 words, these books. They're so short. They're like 90 pages, so they don't feel that short. But they're not very long. It looks like this when it's just this many pages all put out. Then we revise it and revise it and revise it. Then we send it to our editor, and she sends back notes in the manuscript with advice and ideas of what to change. And we rewrite it and rewrite it and write it. So because these are read aloud a lot, I read it aloud over and over and over again, because I want it to flow audibly as well as on the page. And then after part is over, it goes to Wynn, Wynn Pham, she was by Wynn, and she'll do character sketches. So for this book, she created Prince Valerian and the Prince in Pink. And then instead of monsters, we had a very grumpy emu with the ostrich twins, who together form the flightless bird herd. There are amazing villains. And then she does sketches. She does like 80 illustrations in every single book. After she does sketches, she goes on to watercolor. Those of you watercolor, she watercolors every single image in the book. It's a tremendous amount of work. She's so good at what she does. Yes. I love her. Another just example of how books can change over time. This was a young adult book I did called Kind of a Big Deal. Came out in 2020. It was all anybody was talking about in 2020. It was like the only news going on in the world. So it made a big splash. Did you have a 2020 book? Yeah, that was fun. So, we did a thing on your podcast about it. Yeah, that's right. Anyway, so Kind of a Big Deal started as an idea in probably 2005 or 6. And I had it in my notes forever. And then I decided to write it a screenplay. So this was in 2014. I wrote a screenplay with that premise. Then I decided, actually, I really want to understand her character, and I can't get to know it as well in a screenplay. I want to write a novel. So in 2015, I had a 60,000-word novel called The Mask of Josie Pye. And then, after a lot of feedback, I rewrote it in 2016. It was 91,000 words. It was called Scarlet. And then after a lot of feedback, I was like, maybe it's not, I don't want to do this novel anymore. And I went back to the screenplay, and I made a new screenplay. But then, no, in 2019, I do actually want to do it as a novel. And that was an 80,000-word called Pause for a Dream Sequence. And then finally, after much more feedback and many more revisions, in 2020, I had Kind of a Big Deal that was 80,000 words. I guarantee there's not a single sentence in that book that was in the first draft. So sometimes I get the essence of it right away, and the revision isn't as drastic, but I would still say in my least drastic revisions, at least 50% of the sentences are completely different from first to last. So I revise a lot. There is no way for me to get it right the first time or the 5th time or the 10th time or the 20th time. That's just how it goes. Real Friends, thank you. Real Friends was different for me because this is memoir. That's little me there in the front. And it's me. There's 3rd grade. I had a lot of trouble with friends growing up. I'm sure none of you have experienced that. I had a lot of anxiety, and I'm sure that's not true of anybody in this building. Creatives are famously, emotionally managed. So I wrote about what that felt like growing up, and I love doing it in graphic novel format because I can show you in a single image without words. You'd know how that feels. And that's how it felt to me to go to school every day, not know if my friends were talking to me or not. This is how it felt to me to grow up in my home with my big sister, and she's represented by that bear. This is how it felt to me when I was on the playground with a friend who just never really liked me. And it's a play on sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. And I love showing that image. The things people told me were, nobody wants to read about your little childhood dramas, Shannon. Okay, nobody told me that. My head told me that over and over again. Every time I sat down to write, I was like, shut up, Shannon. Nobody cares that she was mean to you in 4th grade. And what I discovered was that was not only incorrect, but this book, the only book I've ever published where the reaction was so instantaneous. Sometimes you publish a book and you wait for months to hear, is anybody reading it? Do they like it? What's going on, This book, it published on a Tuesday. By Friday, I was meeting kids who had read it 25 times. And I was like, what is happening? First of all, graphic novel is awesome. But second of all, also, I learned that when you are vulnerable, when you just open your heart and share your truth in a compassionate way with somebody else, they feel that. They can feel it through the pages. We feel it in person for sure, but you can feel that through the pages. And when you give your characters permission to feel their feelings and know their truth, you're also giving the reader some space to do that for themselves as well. So that experience has been amazing. I'll tell you a little bit about this 3rd book. It's Friends Forever. It takes place in 8th grade. Anybody in 8th grade in here? Best grade ever! I thought maybe I could fool you. I have 2 8th graders at home. My twins are in 8th grade. We are eyeball deep into 8th grade. And I tell you, 8th graders, it's not your imagination. This is hard. And I really wanted to be honest in this book with how hard it was, because there aren't a lot, for some reason we leave out age 13 a lot in the book world. We have a lot of 12 and a little younger, we have a lot of 14 and up, but we lose 13. So I wanted to write a whole book that was devoted to being 13 and honoring where you are in that space. And one reason why I was able to do it is I kept all my notes that my friends passed me in 8th grade. I had them in a shoebox. We didn't have texting, man. And I was able to hear people's voices and remember things that we were going on, and things that we were said, and the ups and the downs of 8th grade, all of the worries, all of the stress, what mattered to me, got my braces. I really, really wanted to be cute for picture day. It felt so important. Remember the princesses I saw? It felt like the most important thing was to be pretty and for boys to like you. It felt like that was the only way to have worth. So I was like, oh, I really want to do it. It's the 80s. I was going to get a perm. I really wanted to look like this actress who was a redhead too, and I thought if I looked like her, then everybody would like me and everything would be okay and I'd feel better. And instead, I looked like this. My hair didn't perm, and I couldn't figure out how to make my bangs do that beautiful, beautiful thing we did in the 80s. And it just fell down. And it was just like, it was like Aquanet, like cement. It did not look out the way I wanted it to look. Spoiler, it didn't matter what I looked like. But I didn't know at the time. I went for retakes. I thought JCPenney will fix this. But I was still 13. And it was hard. And there's a lot of things hard about being 13. I had a highlight when I was 13. I had a teacher who nominated me to be Student of the Month. They picked one boy and one girl, but you're up against all these other kids, and you went in for interviews, and there were so many amazing girls there. There's one who was a ballerina since she was 3, and I was like, there's no way I'm beating the ballerina. But I went in there, and there were 3 teachers, and they did an interview, and they asked me about what's my greatest accomplishment, and I said, well, I'm writing a novel. My goal is to be a published author. And a teacher said, well, that gets an A+ in my book. It was like the first time somebody seemed to care about that. I was like, really? Is this a good thing? And at the assembly later, when they announced the winners, they called my name. And I was chosen next to this boy named Tim, and we were up there on stage holding our little plaques, and I was like, this is the greatest moment of my life. And then the teacher said, we called their parents at home for any amusing anecdotes we could tell. You guys understand inherently how dangerous that is. I don't know how the teacher thought that was a good idea. So they got a hold of my dad, which was even worse. He told 2 stories. The first one was when I was 3 years old, we were hiking, and I kept crying and crying and crying, and they couldn't figure out why, and then they realized I had cactus needles in my knee. I was like, this is a stupid story. And then he said the second story was, the other day Shannon came home from school crying, and we were like, what's the matter? And she said, I got a B+ on my test. And everybody was like, nerd, which was a real insult in the 80s. It's like a compliment now. Nerd, they were yelling at me. And then for Timmy, they were like, the mom told this story. When Timmy was little, he had such long, beautiful blonde hair. And he got lost in the grocery store one time, and he went to ask for help. And when she asked his name from the store worker asked his name, he said Timmy, but she misheard him. So, and because of his hair, she thought he was a girl. So she said, will Tammy's mother please come pick up her daughter? How do you think that went over in the middle school auditorium? This was the darkest. We were up there gripping our little plaques, looking out at this. And I thought this was going to be the greatest moment of my life, and instead it was like public stocks and humiliation. It was brutal. And Chris, to me, that image right there is similar to the one I'm looking at right now, but the circumstances are slightly different. Mrs. Hunt, health teacher with a great idea to call the parents. But it was kind of a dark time for me. There were times when I didn't want to exist. There were times when I did not want to be on this planet anymore. And even winning that award, my anxiety brain started to yammer at me. You started a book, but you didn't finish it. You won an award for a book, but you didn't finish it. You're not capable of finishing it. You're a fraud. How dare you win an award for something you didn't finish? Guys, I didn't finish a book till I was like 25, by the way. And I started like so many. And it was a hard time. It was a dark time. I felt really down a lot. And I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't know how to get out of it. And just want to throw up here, if you guys are ever feeling that way, there are resources, there are places to reach out to. I hope you will. This one is very LGBTQ friendly. I love Trevor Project. And we want you here on this planet. We want all of you. We want you in your messiness. We want you in your mistakes. We want you in your gassy. Maybe 2 feet away, but we want you. We want you in all your gassiness and your beautiful, beautiful messiness. So please stay with us. Stay. You're not imagining it. The world's really hard right now, and I'm sorry we didn't do a better job of setting it up for you. But it took me a while to get to the point where I could just accept myself as I was. And I look back at these photos of my friends in 8th grade and realize I thought I was the only one that was struggling. I thought I was the only one who felt alone and gross and ugly and all of the things. And they all were. Everybody was. Everybody was feeling that. And sometimes books are the way that we can tell that truth when we can't say it face to face. We can write it. We read it in other people's works, and we know we're not the only ones. I was okay, you guys. I looked like this. This was me. I didn't have to look like the Disney princess. I had the brain firing. I had the heart beating. I was beautiful. You still are, she says. Well, yeah, I do know that. I have a new graphic novel coming out because there were so many things that in my memoirs I didn't write about. I couldn't find a way to get into it. So I have a new, it's fiction, but it's based on me. It's called Dream On. And it takes place in Rose Park, Utah in the 1980s in a big family. And little Cassie has big, big emotions, just like me. One day she gets a sweepstakes entry in the mail, and she sees this prize page, and it says, you have already won, you're the grand prize winner, and you get to pick 3 of these prizes. This happened to me. I carried this prize paper around until it fell apart. I was constantly opening up to show people. I really thought I was the winner. I was so excited about it. Spoiler, I did not win it. And it also did not, I really thought if I won it would solve all of my problems. This book, I really wanted to focus how it feels to be highly sensitive. This was the thing I didn't realize until recently, is that highly sensitivity is a trait. It's found in 15 to 20% of human and animal populations. I suspect that percentage is higher in this room. Highly sensitive people are more aware than others of subtleties, you know, all the sensory stuff. They also more easily overwhelmed. Shout out for my fellow get overwhelmed folks. We can be introverts and extroverts. It's not that you're shy. It's not about being shy. You can be shy and highly sensitive, but that's not the same thing. And you may struggle with anxiety and self-esteem, especially in cultures where sensitivity is valued differently. In some cultures, sensitivity is valued highly. In our culture, it is not. A thing I heard all the time was, don't be so sensitive, you're too sensitive, right? But there's a lot of good with sensitivity. There's a lot that comes out of it. This is how it felt a lot to me. I just get this so much. Like, I felt like some kids were like, oh, my friend is ignoring me? That's weird. I don't know. And I was like, my friends are ignoring me? I'm going to die. That's how it kind of feels to be highly sensitive. I love doing this in a graphic novel because we can show you how the wonder moments do. So high sensitivity is not negative or positive. It's a neutral trait. It just means you feel it all bigger. The highs, so your spirits can raise really quickly, and you could drop again real quickly. And I love the art here is by Marcela Cespedes. She's been a dream to work with. One quick story from this. This is all based in this book. Her teacher tells the kids that she is a princess. And Cassie is like, what? Wait, our teacher's a princess? And her friends are like, oh my gosh, what a weirdo. Of course she's not a princess. She's lying or she's bananas. This was based on a real thing. This is Mrs. Farman. She was a 5th grade. Yeah, she was a 5th grade teacher in Wasatch Elementary where I went to school. One day she told us she was a princess. And I, like Cassie, was like, really? And my friends were like, oh my gosh, she's such a weirdo. And as I was writing the book, I was like, ooh, I like that idea of your teacher saying something like that, so random and weird, and you're not being sure if it's true or not, but you wish it was true. So I put it into the book. And I Googled her, but I never could find out if it was true or not. And then I was several drafts into the book, and I was telling my brother about it. And I said, you remember Mrs. Farmer? Because he was in her class too, and he was like, yeah. I said, you remember her saying she was a princess? I was like, he's like, that does sound familiar, but you're saying it wrong. It's Farman, Verla Jean Farman. And I realized, oh my gosh, I'd been having her, I've misremembered her name. I've been Googling the wrong name. I Googled the correct name. Guess what? She was a freaking princess. She grew up in Cedar City, Utah. When she was 19, she went back east to be a nanny. She met what was called at the time a Persian prince. He fell in love with her. They got married. She lived in the palace in Persia. I know. Eventually, when her daughter, which is now Iran, when she wanted to go stateside to go to college, she left. She had divorced by then, and she came back to Utah and was a fifth grade teacher for like 30 years at Wasatch Elementary in Salt Lake City. And the whole time, it was true. Well, we don't always win the sweepstakes. But one thing I love to explore in my art is those moments of wonder and magic, which always exist. They're always there. I mean, a buffet, right? Is there anything more magical than a buffet, all you can eat? The little things can be as magical as anything else. I have like 2 more minutes. So I was told often, you need to create a brand by writing the same kinds of books. It's really good advice. And if anybody loves the genre and they found it and they stick with it, that is beautiful and gorgeous, and do it. If you're like me and you can't do that, no worries. I couldn't do it. I started out writing young adult fairy tale based fantasy, so that's what people wanted me to keep with, but I couldn't. So I've published over 50 books, or it's 50 this year, and they're all over the place. I've done, for genres, I've done fairy tale fantasy, superhero, science fiction, memoir, romantic comedy, whatever these are. For medium, I've done novels, graphic novels, picture books, board books, illustrated chapter books, screenplays. For demographic, I've done emerging readers and middle grade and young adult and adult. And story source, mostly it's my ideas, or when I work with Dean Earlywin, it's combined. But I've also done IP, where you take existing characters that different companies own and write new stories, which is a lot of fun too. So people told me so many things, and they were wrong so often. And many of the things you hear this week from me and other people are not going to be right for you either. And that's okay. Like, the key is figuring out how it feels to you, what feels right to you. I thought I wasn't much. I thought I didn't matter. I thought I was a girl that mattered less than other people. I wanted to feel special. And I thought if I became a writer, all those people who were like, oh, we're so sorry, they would come to me someday at the signings at places like this, like, forgive me for being so cruel to you when you were younger. And I'd be like, I forgive you. And this has never happened. But it turns out, just like with writing, the things that really matter are the relationships, and also the moments when you're sitting down writing your stories about characters who matter. And as I close out, I'm wondering if you'll do me a favor. Can we all in this room together turn into a princess? Are you ready? Okay, start tight. Feel the power building. Feel it shaking. It's starting to come out. It's going to come out. Thank you.
Okay, let's hear it one more time for Shannon Hale. Yes. Awesome. Okay, I just want to let everybody know that here in this room at this time, we are now going to have the Hale Center Theater script scene from a script writing contest. They are going to be performing those contest pieces that were won. So, and enjoy your classes. Thank you so much.